Somewhere in this rural landscape, one of the deadliest battles in medieval England was fought. The exact location of the Battle of Barnet in 1471 is uncertain. 25,000 men took part, around 1,500 of whom were killed. There was an artillery barrage during the night before the main engagement, and there were handheld firearms in use. But archaeologists have found no mass graves and few projectiles that can be reliably associated with weapons of the time. The mystery led to a 4-year joint university project to explore and document the surroundings of the battle site registered by Historic England in 1995. The Barnet Battlefield project 2015 to 2018 was led by the team which had located the site of the 1485 Battle of Bosworth. They studied reports of the battle and modelled the 15th century topology of the area north of Barnet using contemporary maps. They used detectors including ground-penetrating radar to search likely sites for battle-related artefacts. One clue from accounts of the battle was that part of the Yorkist army found itself on marshy ground. There were several marshy areas around Barnet at that time, one of which was today's Monk and Mead Brook, northeast of Monk and Hadley. The project team examined all the once marshy areas, including this one, which is in the top right quadrant of this map. The light brown area is Historic England's registered battle site. This marshy ground was inside the old royal hunting ground of Enfield Chase. The westward boundary of the chase was on what is today Barnet Road, which leads to Potters Bar and Hatfield. The yellow land around the brook is today cultivated arable land. Unfortunately, the team found that all of this arable land, which I will now show as a grey area on the map, is contaminated by modern metal rubbish, which makes it impossible to detect older artefacts. This kind of rubbish is deliberately scattered on farmland under the name green waste. Old maps show that the forest of Enfield Chase did not extend to its western edge, but left an area around Monk and Hadley as pasture. I'll overlay part of the forest on the map to show that the pasture land might have provided space for the Yorkist army which arrived from London and made camp facing the Lancastrians on the eve of the battle. The Lancastrians fired their artillery all night towards the enemy camp, but overestimated the range. If the camp was at Monk and Mead, one would expect to find projectiles of lead or corroded iron up to 1,000 metres from the battle area. The inability to selectively detect older artefacts among the rubbish made it impossible to eliminate this area as a battle site. This setback came in the final days of the survey. At that point, the project team became aware that they'd missed an area of land that was uncontaminated. It consisted of 30 acres of pasture land between 500 and 1,000 metres away from the registered battle area. The team's report noted that the pasture had not been used for a while and was too overgrown for the team to use detectors in the time available. I've shown this area outlined in red on the map. One problem for archaeologists is that although it's green belt, Enfield Council has allocated it as a site for a housing estate. More on that later. The site might have been in range of artillery, especially as it's downhill from the main battle site. Because it was open country, Yorkist units routed in the early stage of the battle might have fled across it, discarding some equipment in their haste. If artefacts were located here, it might justify the use of more resources to excavate the contaminated land further east. This is why the Battlefield Project report describes this site as of high importance. The site is privately owned and is now used for grazing horses. It's hidden from the road by hedges, and there is no access by public footpath, but that's not to say that the public have no right to see it. Anyone with an operator's license may fly a drone over undeveloped land. I'll show some footage taken following the path of the dark blue arrow on the map. The hedge you see in the foreground follows the path of the Monk and Mead Brook. Drone technology is evolving fast. There are already some that can scan with ground-penetrating radar from the air. There is no minimum height for overflying. though the operator is liable for damage, for example, to livestock. It's interesting to watch the reaction of the horses. Horses will become acclimatized to anything, even cannon fire or rioting humans. They are accustomed to the noise of aircraft passing overhead. The drone only gets their attention when it hovers. When it moves on, they go back to their grazing. Enfield Council believes that this site is suitable for affordable housing in mansion blocks of up to 6 stories. Regulations would then forbid overflying by amateur drone operators.